Hi guys, welcome back to ZENA Stitches. In this video, I'll be showing you how to draft a female trouser with a band and a zipper fly. If you are new to my channel, you are most welcome. I post video every week. Kindly subscribe, like and share.
You'll be needing your waist to hip measurement, your waist to knee measurement, your waist to your crouch depth, and then your waist to your trouser length. So to get the crouch depth, you can either tell your client to sit on a flat surface and then you measure from your waist to her crouch depth, or you divide your hip measurement by 4 and add 1 inch. So that's the formula I use. My hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch. So now I'm just making all my markings from my waist to my trouser length to my knee length, and then I'll be squaring them out. So now that I've gotten all my markings, the next thing I want to do is to input my hip measurement, and my hip is 42 divided by 4 gave me 10.5 inches. So I'll mark my 10.5 inch on my crouch depth, my hip measurement, and my waist line. So here's my waist line, my hip line, my crouch line, my knee line, and my bottom line, which is my trouser length. So I will square out this line, and this will just help us get our curve. So the next thing we want to do is to put our crouch measurement. You can get this by dividing your thigh into 2, or you measure what you have on this line, which is your hip measurement. You divide it by 4. You measure what you have on this line and divide it by 4 again. So the value is what you will add here. So but I'll be dividing my thigh measurement, which is 1 of my thigh. The circumference I'll be dividing into 2, and my circumference was 26 divided by 2 will give me 13 inches. So I'll mark my 13 inches, and then I will make my crouch curve. You don't need to follow the curve on this pattern master. You just have to manipulate it to get a nice but not so curvy line. So now that we have our crouch measurement, now we will divide the measurement into 2, which is the 13 inches. We'll divide it into 2, and 13 divided by 2 will give us 6.5. This will help us to get that straight, the middle straight line that will be able to spread our measurement. So I'll mark the 6.5 inches down to my trouser length. Then I'll connect it. I'll connect the markings together. So I didn't make it get to my waist measurement yet. First, I want to mark my dart point. So to get that, you divide your bust point to bust point by 2. My bust point is 8 inches divided by 2 give me 4 inches. So I'll mark the 4 inches. So bust point to bust point is also known as the nipple to nipple for some people, but the actual name is bust point to bust point. Now that we have gotten the line, so now we mark 1/2 inch on both sides for my dart intake. So for the dart length, I'll be working with 6 inches. Remember, this pattern includes our band, so we'll be removing the band from this pattern. So I mark 6 inches for my dart length, so that after removing my band, I will still end up with a reasonable amount of dart to take in. So now that I've taken in my dart, the next thing I'll do is to place my measurement. So for my waist is 13 inches divided by 2 will give me 7.5, plus the 1 inch we took for that, and that will give me 8.5. So we have already taken in our hip measurement. The next place I'll go to is my knee measurement. My round knee is 17 inches divided by 2 will give me 8.5. We cannot put the 8.5 on one line. That's why we have this middle line. So we will be spreading it to the 2. So 8.5 divided by 2, that will give us 4.25. So I'll mark my 4.25 on both sides. And then I'll come to my ankle. So for my ankle, my round ankle is 13 inches. Divided by 2 will give me 6.5. So the 6.5 will be divided by 2 again, just like we did for the knee. So 6.5 divided by 2 will give me 3.25 inches. So I'll mark the 3.25 on both sides. Now that I've marked all my points, the next thing to do is to connect it. So I'll connect from the knee to my ankle first, the both sides. So this is just a basic pattern. You can alter this to make your palazzo, your wide leg, and all that. So I will connect from my crouch line now to the knee. And then I'll come to the side front. So connect from my waist to my hip measurement. And then from there to my knee. Before we go into shaping and making our zipper fly, because this pattern we will include zipper fly to it, and then we'll take out our band. So before we do that, we'll go ahead and trace this into another pattern so that we can use it to modify the back. So after tracing out, the next thing you will do is first we'll be contouring this our waistline to fit into our body, so that it just help the trouser or your skirt sit properly on your body. So we will come to the side front and raise it up by 1/2 inch, and then we'll come to the center front and bring it down by 1/2 inch. Like I said, this just help your pattern, helps your trouser sit properly on your body. It's something that you should not joke with, so always remember to do it when you are making a trouser or your skirt. So for the front, and then we'll connect these two to one leg of the dart. Just reshape here. Now that we have done this contouring at the waistline, the next thing I'll do is to input my zipper fly. And this depends on you. You can make use of 2 inches, but I'll be making use of 1 inch. Remember, you can choose not to put a zipper fly at the center front of your trouser. You can choose to put your zipper at your side or at the back, but I'll be putting my zipper in the front, so I'll be creating a zipper fly to hide the zipper. So I'll make this zipper 6 inches. So I'll just mark my 1.5 inches. And make a straight line and then curve it. You know those very fine curve you are seeing on jean? So that's what we are trying to get. So yes, this is now our zipper fly, so we can clean this. So now to get our band, I'll be making use of 2 inches for my band. You can as well make use of 1 inch or 3 inches, depending on how wide you want your band to be. I've seen some trousers that their band is as big as 3 inches, very wide band, but you can make use of 2 inches. I think 2 inches is just perfect for me. So I'll mark my 2 inches round like so, and then connect it when I'm done. I'll connect my 2 inches marking. Still mark it here. We're almost done. The next thing we want to do now is to close in this our dart before we reshape, so that when we are cutting out the band, we will not end up having some gaping. So you move the side, so you close it up like so, then use a paper tape to hold down. So you close your band like so, and then use your paper tape to tape it down, and then you reshape your waist line. So this is it with our front pattern. So let's move on to the back. So this is the back we traced out from the front. If you remember, I said you should trace it out before we did those modifications, adding of fly and all that. So we are going to do a little modification on this back pattern. So first, we'll be getting the midpoint of the line, and here I have 4 inches, so my midpoint is 2 inches. So I'll mark the 2 inches. So remember, this is our crouch length. We had that measurement we got for our tie, which is 13 inches. So you are just going to measure the difference you have from this your hip measurement to this your tie length. So you measure it. What I have here is 2.5 inches. So I measure from this my hip line to this point, and I got 2.5 inches. So I will be raising my back with 2.5 inches. That's why I kept a lot of space here, so that we'll have space to play around our pattern. So I'll be raising there by 2.5 inches, and now I have raised it by 2.5 inches. So the next thing I'm going to do, remember our measurement. So our measurement was, our waist measurement was 7.5 inches. Then the 1 inch we took for our dart, and that gave us 8.5 inches. So we'll be marking the 8.5 inches from this line now towards the edge of this paper. So this is where I have my 8.5 inches now. So I'll be marking there my 8.5 inches, and then I will rule it out. So this is now my new waistline for my back pattern. So let me measure again to be sure I have my 8.5 inches. So this is where my 8.5 inches stop. So I will come down here now, and I like to extend my crouch length by 2 inches for the back. This just helps your pattern sit properly. So before then, I'll come down by half an inch before we mark my 2 inches. So I'll mark my half inch, and I will roll out that half inch. So from this half inch I came down, I'll be marking 2 inches. So this will now be our new crouch for the back. So writing new crouch. So I'll connect it from this line, my new waistline now, to the new crouch line. So you just have to manipulate this line. It can be very tricky. So you just have to, whatever curve you are using, just try your best to manipulate it. But see, I'm taking my time to really get this curve. It can be tricky, so just be patient with it. I don't like how this curve is looking. No, I told us you have to take your time with this curve. Especially this back pattern, it can be tricky getting the curve. See, that's the main reason I love working with pencil. I could have easily used marker for you guys so that for more visibility. But I just feel using pencil makes you adjust your error so easily without it showing obviously. So just take your time. If you feel it's not, you're not comfortable with the curve, you feel the curve is not right, you can clean it up and reshape again if you are using a pencil. So just try and make this curve. Try to manipulate the curve. So I think I'm okay with this, my new curve that I did. So the next thing we want to do now is to input our dart. So you will measure 4 inches, which is your bust point to bust point measurement. So on this your new waistline, and square it out. So for the back too, we'll be putting a band. You know, I told us this pattern include our band. So I will also make my darts longer so that I can, when I remove my band, I will still have reasonable amount of dart. So I'll be taking 1/2 inch on both sides for my dart intake. And then I'll connect it from that 6 inches length. I'll connect it to meet the 1/2 inch I took on both sides. So now that we are done with this measurement, we'll be reconnecting this our waistline to meet up with our hip line again. Remember, we didn't work with this new front waistline. So I'll connect it back again to my hip line. So next thing I want to do now is to raise this side back by 1/2 inch. Remember what we did for the front, the modification we did for the front, we'll also be doing it for the back too. So after raising it by 1/2 inch, you connect it to the dart leg. So that's it with the back. The next thing we want to do now is to mark out our band measurement. So I told us I'll be working with the band I'll be working with 2 inches band. So I'll just mark out my 2 inches like so, and then connect it when I'm done. I'm using this curvy part because our waist is not totally straight. So our waist is a bit curvy. That's why I'm using this curved part. So now that we are done, we have input our darts. So let me just clean this out. This former line we have is a bit rough. I don't know if you guys can see it. I think the markings are too much and it's just making it slow. So this is our back band. And here is our side back. And here is the center back. So we'll be adding 1/2 inch round, and then from here to this center back, I'll be adding 1 inch at the knee measurement, and also add 1 inch to the ankle. So why am I doing this? So that I'm adding this so that your back can sit properly, can accommodate your curve. Remember, because of our shape, so the back has to be big to accommodate our curve at the back. So I added 1 inch at the knee, then 1 inch at the ankle. So I didn't add anything here again because we already added 2 inches. So I just connect it now to the knee. This is our knee line, and then to the ankle. So the next thing we want to do is to add 1/2 inch round, 1/2 inch to the side back, and 1/2 inch at my waist line. Like I said, so we'll be adding 1/2 inch to our band, or you can cut out this band first and add your allowance when you are cutting your fabric. So for the side back too, we'll be adding 1/2 inch all round. So I'll be adding 2 inches allowance at the bottom. So now you have to do is to add your notches, add your markings, your measurements if you are keeping the pattern. So this is all with drafting the back trouser. So let's Let's go back to the front again, and I'll teach you guys how to cut out this pattern. So remember again, for the back dart, you still need to reshape your waist when you are cutting out this pattern. So you still need to reshape it, close it up, and then reshape the waistline. So I can already see the lines from the tape. So you trace your waistline, and then you are cutting this out. So you are cutting 4 pieces of this. You're cutting 4 pieces of this because it's not unfold. You need one to turn the other band when you put your interfacing, because you don't want your interfacing to be showing inside your garment, inside your trouser. So that's it with drafting the back pattern. So this is our front pattern. So when you are cutting out this band, just extend this so that you will have that overlap seam. Just extend it to this zipper fly we have here, so that you have that overlapping band when you fix your zipper, meaning one will be covering one when you fix your zipper. So it's just really nice. Not all trousers have it. You can choose not to put your band here, like you can choose not to put your zipper here, like I told us before. You can choose to put your zipper at the back or at the side of your trouser. So all these things totally depend on you. So to the front now, I'll be adding my seam allowance. So I'll be putting my grain line, which means that this pattern should be cut on a straight grain line, not horizontally, not bias. So I'm writing it straight grain line, so that even if I give this pattern to someone else, which means that even if I give this pattern to someone else to sew for me, I don't have to worry, because the person already see all the markings and all the labeling I did on the pattern. So this is my hip line, and I'm just going to label this as my crouch line. So we are cutting 2 of these, one for one leg and the other one for the other leg. It's not unfold, so we are cutting 2 pieces of this, and this one is the front, so don't forget to label it your front. And that's all with labeling. We'll do the same thing to the back, and then I'll cut it out and show you guys how it looks like. So guys, this is what we have after cutting out. So I've closed our band, and that's why it's no longer meeting up with this edge. So by the time we close this dart now, it will fit in our band. So you add 1/2 inch allowance here. Remember, we already add 1/2 inch at the upper part. So what we're going to do is add 1/2 inch here. So we already added all our allowance here. This is the back bodice. So this is the back. I've done all my labeling, and then for the button, I added 2 inches to fold in when we are sewing, when we sew up our trouser, so to close the rough edges. So it all depends on what you are comfortable working with. So I'll cut the front now and show you guys how the front looks like. So this is our front pattern. We'll also be cutting 4 pieces of this, 2 for each side, and then we'll be cutting 2 pieces of this. So like I did for the back, I've added 2 inches here that I'll use to fold in my trouser. So that's all for this tutorial. See you next week when I have another tutorials to show us. Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe.